All right, we'll get started. So the last two sessions, we kind of talked about ball possession in the specific zones 1, 2, 3, which is in the back third, the 4, 5, 6, which is in the middle, as well as talking about the defensive mindset that needs to happen. And we can go into more detail on that when we start working on the defensive side a little more. But today, the concentration for what I want to kind of talk about is what happens in 7, 8, and 9. So in the 7, 8, and 9, which is the most offensive part right in front of the goal for the opponent, the mindset of the defense is very different. The farther you are away from the goal, the more lax they are, right? Typically. And the closer you get to the goal, the more frantic they are. And being an offensive player, as they get frantic, the key is to actually level out and be much calmer because that allows you to see the potential of using their anxiety and using the fact that they are in a desperate state to then leverage and fake them, in other words, right? So let's kind of talk about this for a little bit. Um, so typically, I'll bring a ball up here, and we're the blue team today, right? So typically, when the ball is in this final third, which probably is equated to these three green areas here, there's a couple of things that actually happen. They'll probably be much tighter on you, right? So let's just kind of move the balls and the players up into the position that they need to be, right? We'll shift up because we played pretty high. And notice I'm gonna also move the goalkeeper. In the final third, the keeper should be somewhere here. So let's talk about that first, right? Typically, when we do our lines are are intended. So the defensive line, in essence, the midfield line, and in the forward line. All three of these lines need to be within 10 to 12 yards away from each other. Why is that? Because as we're attacking, the typical formation in this sort of instance is more like this, right? What we do on the offensive side, one stays here, the other one's freer, typically like that, because you want to have some support. The reason why we stay in this format is because of the transition. When you go offensive, the game of soccer typically is played like this. You go offense, you lose the ball, you play defense. You win the ball, you play offense. It's the transitional game. When we stay in these tight lines of 10 and 10, what happens is it allows us, when we lose possession, to be immediately on the ball. If, let's say, our defense is dropping back too far, it leaves a certain specific gap in the middle where the other team can press us. Now, we've all talked about a couple things, right? So I'll remove these lines. That's the reason why we stay tighter up, first of all. How so typically when you're in the final third, because of the anxiety and the desperation of the other team, because you're coming closer to their goal, everything needs to be slightly faster. If you divide the field up, if you're in areas 1, 2, and 3, the passes could be a little more lax. They're not going to chase you quite as hard because the threat's not there. In 4 and 5, the movement becomes a little quicker, but it's not fast pace. It's not trying to move as quickly as possible. But when you're in the 7, 8s, and 9s, when you're shifting between the angles and trying to shift into a position where you're exploiting the danger area. And where's the danger area? This is the danger area, remember, right? Wherever the ball is, Our goal is to try to put it into this danger area with people there to capitalize on potentially scoring, right? So if we think about it from that perspective, there's three areas that you are trying to exploit. The one in front, this area here, and this area here, right? So let's talk about that a little bit. When you're on the outside, when you're in space 9, the option when you're a winger is to dribble your defender, right? To get crosses in or get a corner, meaning go down to the line and come back into this area. So if I number this, this would be 1, I'd say this is 2, and let's say this is 3, right? It's actually, you know what? I'll change that. 7, because it equates to this. 8, right? And then 9. So this is all here. Actually, you know what? I'll just remove this. I'll remove this. 9. So if we are looking at 7, 8, and 9, we think about it from if you're in 7 and 8, they're the same. You want to try to bring the defense away from that individual. You want it to be a one-on-one. You want it to be where our offensive player is going one-on-one. So as a teammate, you don't want to come too close to him because that would just bring the defender with them, right? So let's say if our forward comes here, you bring the defender here. Now he has the option of beating this guy and then having to beat that guy. If you stay more central, it allows him to have that one-on-one opportunity out here. So the key is if you're outside, dribble your defender, get a cross in or get a corner by kicking, going down the wing and getting it off him, right? And then cut into the middle to find a shot. That's if we're attacking. You would dribble that way if we're sort of moving at a fast pace to go in the middle for a shot, right? For a shot. This is what Messi and everybody else does really well. They dribble across and they shoot far post, right? And then change of the angle of attack and run behind to turn the defender. If the ball is on the opposite side, then make the run into the post. Okay, so what does that all mean? The key to any goal scoring opportunity, there's two things. If you're outside the box and you bomb an amazing shot, there's nothing you can do. You just clap. That's just pure class, right? But generally speaking, the goal of any offensive move that we have in this area, so I will give these guys arms, right? So that you know which way they're facing. The key, if you're on the wing, is to beat your man down here and force all the defenders to look this way towards their own goal, right? What happens when they move like this? They don't see what's behind them. They don't see what's behind them, which means 9 or our forward can move into certain spaces and exploit because they're having to pay attention. So when you create the opportunity for us to score, you have to think about it from the perspective, if I'm able to give a through ball or dribble my guy so that he turns the defender towards his own end line, we've done our job, right? We've created the chaos that's necessary for all the movement in here to happen. So let's say 8 has the ball. He beats the defenders down here. As a forward, make sure you're on the opposite. You're behind. You don't want to be in front so that he has the vision to see you and the ball, right? You don't want that. What you want to do is be behind him. And as the winger makes the cross, you can then attack him in front and attack him, run behind him to the front, go away from him, peel to the back post. That's where you want to be. You want to be behind him and not in front of him, right? So you watch Holland. Erling Holland does this very well. Every single time the ball is on one side, he actually goes onto the other side of the defender. And right when the winger looks up and is about to cross, he runs across the defender, which gives him that space where the defender's reacting to him. He only needs 1 or 2 feet to be in front of the person to have that advantage. So as a forward, your position should be behind the defender, right? Behind number 3, and you're running in this formation here. You're running here, right, in front of him, or you take the back post away from him, right? Because right behind you should be that midfield player that kind of fills in the spot that you vacate. Because as you move, guess what happens? 2 will move with you, which leaves open space for our 7, or actually our 7, to make this run inwards, right? Or inwards here. So let's look at that again. I will remove all these and then we'll look at just the runs that are happening. So if 8 beats the defender, the runs of the forward will be these 3. 1, 2, 3. And then the run from the wing on the opposite side is coming into the middle as 1 or 2, right? And then this individual, based on where 9 is running, he'll fill the opposite space. He'll fill this space or he'll fill this space, and he'll sit right in this area. So as you see in this situation, when 8 crosses the ball, it could come here, right? It could come here. It could go all the way to the back post. He can cross it back up here or go all the way to the outside over here. So these are all the possible balls that can happen or crosses that can come in. So it's extremely easy to see where we're exploiting them, right? We're exploiting them front post, back post, penalty area, or if it goes way beyond, let's say he crosses it and 3 flicks it on, then number 7's in. Why is this important? Because it gives you the opportunity, and I'm going to remove all these real quick. It gives you the opportunity to actually cover the spaces that you need to cover. 6 will cover this area. 1 second. 6 will cover this area. Forwards will cover this area. And then coming in the back covers this area. So in essence, you're all in a position to exploit any potential balls that come in. There should always be runs in. So if you want to score goals, you got to make the effort to get into the danger area as the ball's coming through. There is no way you can't be making that pass down here and then sitting back here and going, oh man, you know what? That was a great pass. No, you got to make your way into the area. And if we draw a line, let's look at where everybody's positioning is, right? Because we got to think about it from where the ball is. You don't want to run so if I draw a line of where the ball is, the ball is here. Everybody should be sort of behind the ball and attacking into the space, right? Attacking into the space or attacking into the space. You don't want to be even with the ball where the ball goes behind you and you're backtracking to get it. The defenders are already running. And as the forward makes the run, it disrupts 2 and 3 and causes them to move their shape outside. So the decision at that point for number 8 is when 9 makes the move, who's moving? If 9 is free and you can get it to 9 because they're not close enough, that's perfect. If 9 pulls 3 or 2 out, then look to exploit the spaces that they left, which is here or here, right? So you're not just crossing the ball, you're trying to cross the ball into a space that gives your teammates the best option. Any questions there? All right, so let's think about from a different perspective. So this is if you're down and they're all transitioning back, right? Let's move everybody back a little bit. Let's say we are in a state where we're moving sort of fast break into this area. And they're all out here. they're trying to transition back as well. So we're gonna move all these guys out. I'll remove his arms. And let's say we're here. And the ball is sent from 3 down into 9, right? So as you can tell, when I communicate with you guys during the game, I'm also saying the number of where I want the ball to go potentially, right? So if I'm talking, and Aaron's probably heard this the most, if I say to Aaron, we want to go to 6 or 7 or 9, he should, in the back of his mind, know where those positions are on the field to exploit it. I'm not going to say players' names anymore because there's no need to. If I say 9, you know exactly what I'm talking about to drop the ball from a certain area into 9. So let's assume the ball comes in here and he's chasing, right? At this point, the exploitation is in this area, right? If he gets here in time, there is no need to kind of cross it back. And you see this in the professional game a lot. As they break out forward, they're putting the ball in the front for their forward to attack. And in this manner, it causes all kinds of problems because the defender is also running with you. And if there's many times that you watch where the defender actually scores an own goal because you put such pressure on him, even if he gets there before you, he's hitting the ball. He's trying to clear it, but he clears it into his own net. So the option to go in the front typically happens when you're breaking forward fast and you're going at speed. You put it in the front so that the forwards can come and attack. If you come up and you're building like what it was before, look at the option for you to go backwards, slightly behind the play, behind the defenders, so that you exploit the areas behind them for our midfielders to run into. Yes, Micah.
So if you're on the wing, do you want to try to cross it earlier to put it like slightly in front of you toward the goal that you're trying
Absolutely.
to, or
Absolutely.
do you like dribble down to the edge and then cross it backwards?
So that option is actually the decision of the winger as he sees the middle running, right? If he sees the forward really close to the defender and there's space in the front. So in this situation, like let's say they're both sprinting down, right? And you're here and the ball's in front of you. Let's remove this. You would put it into this space right here. You would put it right into an area where the keeper can't make a decision to come out, but the defender, and now it's a foot race between 3 and 9 for that, right? So in a situation where you're breaking forward and you can leave it, you can send it forward, and you wouldn't do it if our 9 was back here, right? You would continue to dribble to give him the opportunity to come and catch up. But if he's next to him, then you send the delivery forward. If, however, to kind of finish that thought, if the defense is back, right, back already, and this guy's chasing you, then yeah, keep on going because you can't really send it into this area early. You would go down to the bottom, and you would hope that this forward makes his run in this manner, that way, or this way, right? And then filling behind is the offensive forward, and coming in from the outside into this area is the winger. So every single time we attack on the wing, there should be 3 options in the middle: forward, offensive midfielder, and the winger on the other side creeping across. Typically, the run for the outside winger is towards the far post in this instance, right? So then you are covering all this area. The forward is hammering this area. The midfield coming in is looking at the space behind, right? So your coverage is 1, 2, 3. You have to make those runs. How many times have we hit it where the defense misclears it and it falls in the back, but no one's there? A lot. And this comes back to a thought that I wanted to kind of share as well. When we're looking at our own defense, when we're defending, when we turn, most of the goals that occur against us are situations where we've missed a trap or we've come so close and the ball bounces over our heads. And now we're running back at our own goal, not realizing where everybody else is, right? You're kicking it out of bounds. You're giving them a corner kick. You're putting yourself in situations that are much more dangerous than if we have them in the front. And then as the ball comes, we time it based on where they are and we meet them as they meet the ball. And this is something that we'll work on tomorrow. But generally speaking, this is the principle of how you attack from the wing, right? If you're early, you can send it forward in front of them. If you're kind of late, you're sending it, you're looking to cut back slightly with the forwards, making the runs to pull the defense away. Okay. Now, let's talk about something slightly different where they're all back and they're sitting in a low block. And this happens a lot, actually, because we're building up and we're probing and the ball comes up here. In this sort of situation, whoops, sorry. In this sort of situation, as you have the ball here facing inwards, the defender is defending you. What options do you really have? You still have the option to dribble down towards the line and try to get a corner off of them or try to beat them and get the cross in, of which we just mentioned, right? There's also the option where if everybody's pressing down and you see the option as being they're very tight here, right? We can keep possession and we can swing across. In this case, let's look here, here, swing across. We can go backwards here to kind of work our way across, right? That's another option, which is here, right? And this is why this individual comes up along the line, almost in the same line as number 8, and the same on the opposite side. Or what we do is we look to play what we were talking about, changing the angle of attack. There is no through ball from 8. At this point, you could, if you are thinking about it and you see that there's a chance, you could cross it high into here and hope for the chaos to happen or a header to happen, right? That's another option. But here's something else to think about that we talked about. We look to play a situation where he'll probably drop off here. If he's angling right, he'll be between the ball and the goal, right? This line, so that you don't beat him or take a shot or anything like that, which means look at this. This is what we worked on. This is what we talked about last time. The ball coming straight into the forward, right? In this situation, when you get the ball, yeah, I mean, if he's not on you, you can turn and shoot. But if he's on you, let's say this guy's on you and you can't do that, drop it back. It's okay to drop it back. This is how Barca scores a lot of their goals, actually. They work it down into the mix, they put it to the top, and 6 takes a shot. Or in this situation, you can drop it here, right? Remember what we talked about as one of our options? It's the back, it's the forward pass, right? Back and then through. So in this case, let's say the ball goes here, you drop it back because he's moving up. Most likely these midfielders aren't tracking you in front, so they're behind, they're chasing you. The minute you drop back, you take a slight angle here. Now it creates a 2-on-1 situation on 3, right? It creates a 2-on-1 situation against 3, where 3 now has to make a decision. Do I go to the ball? Do I come here? If he goes to the ball comes here, and then you take a shot. If he goes to the ball, you could actually leave the ball down here for him to run down to take a shot, right? Or you could do a give and go, which is simply pass here, you go through, the ball comes back for a shot. This is how you beat the low block. If you watch the game between Argentina and Bolivia, where Messi scored 3 goals, the goal that he scored actually came from him playing in the 8 position. He actually played in the 8 position, made the pass, The center mid was not here at that point, right? 6 wasn't here at that point. He made the pass and then he came right behind him for the forward to drop it back for him to go across and then shoot and score. So the concept of dropping back creates, meaning you play in between the line. You pass along the line, drop it back to play in between the line, which makes the defender now have to make a decision. In 7, 8, and 9, the key is always to make a defender make a decision. If you turn and you're taking him one-on-one, the defender knows exactly what to do. I need to guard the ball. But if you drop that ball back from 9 to 6, what happens is now the defender has to make a decision. Do I go with the ball? Do I stay with my man? Do we have the coverage? At this point, he's at your mercy. And this is where you exploit, right? We don't drop the ball back enough because A, our midfielders aren't stepping up for that shot. But if we do drop it off, then the midfield has options. He could fake a pass and dribble. He could pass, do the give and go. He could pass through behind the person. This is where all that pretty soccer that you see Barcelona do happens, right? It's with the ball coming across into the pocket, and that pocket is here, right? Where 6 is in front of their 6 and 5. Now, everybody's at this point is chasing back if you have the ball. So I'm going to remove some of these arrows, right? So that we can clear it up and we can chat about this a little more. That back pass, if whoever it is, if you make that back pass, number 3 and number 2 are in trouble. Because the reality is you could take a shot here, option 1. If he opens up, now it's a 2-on-1 where he can fake a pass here, but then dribble through and take a shot. He could pass it here where he turns and shoots far post. He could go behind the defender if there's space for 9 to run into, right? Options become numerous. And the reality is, did we shift our lineup or we switch the play or did we overlap the runs? No, it stayed the exact same. Their formation is 1, 2, 3, 4. Our formation is 1, 2, 3, 4. But in doing that, you isolate a situation where this becomes a 2 versus 1. Any questions, guys? Okay. Now, I want to kind of talk about the defensive side of this a little bit, right? And the defensive side of this is very important because on this weekend, both teams are playing the first and second place teams. We actually have 2 games against first and second. So let's talk about now that we talked here. I'm just going to go over number 8 real quick. Offense needs to be decisive and fast, right? When you get into this area right here, everything needs to be a quicker decision, or you need to know what you're going to do before. For you to dribble and then take a cut to try to dribble again, most likely they're all coming in, 4 or 5 people. So the move there is when you get the ball, you already know I'm going to open up my hips, take a touch and shot. I'm going to fake a shot, cut back and get it off right away. The key to this is you're not trying to beat your man to shoot. You're just trying to open up so that there's a direct angle in front of the goal for you to come over here and take a shot, right? So you're not behind that's the 90, that's the drop the shoulder fake. And then keep that in mind. The closer you get to the goal, the faster you have to play. The quicker the decisions need to be. Okay? All right. So I'm going to talk about one thing that I most of the time when goals get scored on us, it's because we mistime it and it goes over our heads. So let's form this line again, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So on a defensive structure for us, it looks something similar to this, right? There's a 9. Let's say we go up and they press up. I think they play with actually 2 forwards. this is what they typically do. They play something like this because they're too big.
Oh,
They actually have the guy drop similar to us. But when we are here, what typically happens is let's say the goalie has it and he's about to punt it out. Our guys
Drunk
are
guy, you know what I mean? So
our guys are literally guarding like
I
this.
wasn't giving away words. Gonna.
Our guys are literally guarding very close, right? What happens is the ball goes over, it hits, and then it bounces over, and now we're chasing, facing our goal as they pressure us, and we're giving up a corner kick, or we're giving up a throw in, or we're just panicked at that point. I want to change this up a little bit. Instead of doing that, I want you to actually back up because most of the goalie kicks, especially on our field because it's huge, right? What we need to think about is this. Give them the space. The ball is probably going to fall somewhere in this area. I haven't seen a kid our age kick the ball on our field beyond our goal kick, right? So back up, give them the space. We're facing as the ball comes when it's in the air. Once he kicks it, you kind of know the general area that it's going to fall into, right? You just see it. Once it's in the air, that's when you actually are coming to engage. And you can tell whether he is set and ready to trap the ball or if he's backtracking, which means most likely it's going to go over his head, which then gives you the ability when it does go over its head, now you're facing and it's a 50-50 ball this way versus you turning and running with him this way, right? So give them back up a little bit when they're doing the goal kick and back up so that you're at probably where the end of the center circle is in order to look for and time the engagement because even if the ball's in the air, the kid who's trapping it has no idea where you are. Let's say he has great control, nine has it, he's facing this way. As he traps it, you engage. Most likely they'll lose the ball, right? So the key for us this weekend is to drop back slightly and then attack the ball as it comes versus being right on them and then having it missed. And then now we're turning and chasing like this. Okay. So I'll stop it there because we're at 6. But the idea here, especially for the 7s and 8s, I'll kind of rehash it really quickly. When you're in zone 7 and 9 and you're the winger, look to take your man. It's okay. This is where I want you to take your man because when you turn him towards his own goal, it creates all kinds of mess. It forces the center defenders to come out to take you as support, which creates space for our forwards to run, which creates space for our wingers to come in and our offensive mid to take the top of that D, right? We're pushing up everything. And I've talked about the defensive side, but even the offensive midfielder, even the defensive midfielder is actually up in this area waiting for the ball to come out too. It's an opportunity for us if we're here, he's here, they're there, right? We want to make sure that balls always come back. How many times do I say, like, for example, Micah, how many times do I say, stay on top and it comes right to you? Like a lot in the game, probably 3 or 4 times it'll happen. That means 3 or 4 opportunities to shoot, right? Or to make a decision. So when you're out on the wing, offensive guys, don't bring the guys that don't have the ball, don't bring your defenders into that space. Give Jonathan, Adishai, Gavin, Benji the opportunity to beat their man. And if they don't beat it, it's fine. We're in a position to play defense, right? And then if you're coming at speed, remember, you can find that early pass in if you're not close to the sidelines yet for them to run. Or if you're down here, come backwards behind because the defenders are all facing their goal. And then what we talked about in the middle is we're trying to change the angle of attack. If the ball is on the outside over here, there is no opportunities for through pass. But if the ball comes back here and up here, the way they were standing in my example, there's plenty of opportunity to
It's
do
hard. It's nuts.
behind them through these gaps, right? Through these gaps. You actually have opportunities to pass balls like that.
I don't.
And if you're calm enough, you can use the fake pass, pretend you're going to pass, pull it, and go. Actually, that's the option too. The freedom for you to be creative at that point is based on the panic that's in the defense, right? We've seen it on our side. When we're in that area and they fake a shot and they cut, people are falling, diving, trying to get in front of them. They're thinking the exact same way. So we have to leverage that to look for opportunities. Cool. And remember, the last concept is when you're up there, the decisions need to be a lot faster. If you're taking 3 or 4 touches to get a shot off, most likely that shot is no longer there. And you need to find the opportunity to lay it off to a teammate that's open for them
So
to
on a small part of the juices for you guys' lunch. You want me to
shoot.
drop you off?
All right. Um, anyone have any questions about this? Nope. All right. So tomorrow at practice, we're going to work on some of these, right? We're going to try to practice our finishing. And in the situation, if you don't know, remember what I say, if you don't know where to shoot, wherever the field is, divide it in half. If you're on one half of the field, shoot on the other side. Always try to go across the goalie. Okay. Don't just think about power. Like, I don't know, you guys didn't get to watch the Barcelona game today, but Rafinha scored an unbelievable goal. And the reason why he was able to score it was he hit a perfect side netting shot to the opposite side when there seemed to be no angle for him to do that. And he beat Neuer, who's a world-class keeper, just because he was accurate. So a lot of the times we're thinking about power and stuff right in front of the goal. The idea it should be just find the other net. Just look forget about where the keeper actually is if you're in that panic state and just shoot for the opposite side. Okay. All right, guys. That's all I have for today. If there's no questions, I'll see all of you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.